So girls, I'm going to take you through a simple cake recipe, a chocolate cake, which is very simple. It's a water cake, it's dairy free, egg free, and so during this lockdown period you should be able to find these ingredients at home, really easy to make, and it actually tastes quite nice as well. With Easter coming up, it could be a nice alternative to an Easter cake, and I'll show you how to ice it and decorate it at the end if you want to do that. Okay, so for this recipe you need 13 fluid ounces of water. You'll need 3 fluid ounces of oil, and that could be olive oil or vegetable oil, whatever you have at home. You need 1 teaspoon of vanilla essence. You need 370 grams of plain flour, and you need 240 grams of caster sugar. Okay, the 4 tablespoons of cocoa to make it a chocolate cake, and 2 teaspoons of baking powder so your cake rises in the oven. Alright, so simple ingredients. You'll need a large bowl, a small bowl, you need a sieve, and you need some measuring spoons and your cake tin, and that's about it. Okay, so the first thing we need to do when we're baking is to set the oven so it can preheat to the correct temperature. So the oven needs to be set to 180 degrees centigrade or gas mark 4, depending on what sort of oven you have. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to put all our wet ingredients into a small bowl. So I've got my water already measured out here into the bowl. We need to also add the oil into the same bowl. And remember, the oil and water isn't going to mix together, but you need to just put it in the same bowl. And then your vanilla essence, so 1 teaspoon of your vanilla essence. Now you can measure this or just estimate. That's about 1 teaspoon. Okay. In a large bowl, you then need to sieve your plain flour through. Sieving it will get lots of air into your cake mixture, which is what you want, so your cake will rise in the oven. So sieve that through. Obviously I've already measured out the amount of flour you need. Okay, so you've got your flour in there. You then have to add your 2 teaspoons of baking powder. That's 1, 2, and 4 tablespoons of your cocoa powder to make it a chocolate cake. Ideally you should put this through your sieve as well, so 4 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and just sieve that through. Okay, and then you add your sugar to the dry ingredients. So all your dry ingredients are together. With a balloon whisk, something like this, you don't need a hand mixer at all, just mixing your ingredients together. Right, so what we need to do now is slowly mix in the water and oil mixture into your dry ingredients. Obviously, you're not going to be able to mix that too well until you get quite a lot of the liquid in there. And this is why you're using your whisk, so eventually you can get rid of all the lumps, so you've got a really smooth cake batter. Okay, so your cake mixture should now look this sort of consistency, really smooth, quite thick. That's done. You can add a little pinch of salt at this point, it just will bring out the flavours a little bit more, so that's optional. And it's ready to put in your cake tin. Okay, so cake tin, preferably a 7-inch or 8-inch cake tin like this one here with a loose bottom, or you could use a springform cake tin. Either of these are really easy to get the cake out at the end. So my cake tin I have ready here. You need to grease it. The easiest way to grease it is actually just to put a little bit of oil in. You only want a little bit of oil. You don't want to make the cake greasy, but it's just so the cake will come out at the end. And with your brush, just coat the inside of that baking tin so you know your cake's going to come out. I've pre-cut a piece of greaseproof paper to the exact size of the bottom of my cake tin, and you can just line the bottom of your cake tin with that. Okay, you don't need to do the sides, and that is now ready. All you need to do is pour your cake batter mixture into your tin, and it should fill it up quite nicely if you have a 7-inch or an 8-inch cake tin. Okay, get all the mixture out. You can use a spatula if you need to, just so you don't waste any of the mixture. Okay, so finally you need to pop it in the oven. You've already preheated your oven. If you've got a fan oven, it doesn't matter where you put it in the oven. If you haven't got a fan oven, then preferably on the top rung because the heat rises. And remember, you've set that to 180 degrees centigrade or gas mark 4. Okay, that has to cook in the oven for 40 minutes. After 40 minutes, test it. And remember how to test your cake by inserting a knife into the middle. And if it comes out dry, it is done. If it comes out wet, you need to put it in for a further 5 minutes and then just test it from there on to check that it's done. Okay.